Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Faith Family Church of God Youth Lesson. My name is Marsha, one of the three that do these lessons every week. Sort of looking forward to this, and I'm also brain frozen, because I'm not really sure what the outcome's going to be. But I do have some good news. Tonight's lesson is not going to be on the brain. It's not going to be about any body part. It's going to be on worth and worthy. I hear a lot of people talk about that they're not worthy for God's love. I hear people talk about, I'm not worth being loved. I'm not worth, people have me thinking that I am ugly. I am, people are just very self-conscious about themselves, of their worth. Main thing to remember now, before I start this lesson, is that Jesus died on the cross, and for us, and I don't really believe he would have done that if he didn't think that we were not worth anything. So tonight's lesson is going to be on worth and worthy, because like I said, a lot of people talk about, I'm not worthy. I don't go to church because I'm not worthy. I don't go hang out with Christians because I'm not worthy. So I'm going to sort of try to touch on that in comparison to the word or the meaning of worth. So first I'm going to start with the word of prayer. Dear Lord, I thank you for another beautiful day. Lord, let me be able to say the words that I need to say to make people understand that we are all worthy of your love, that we are all here because you put us here. We all have a path that you have given us. Don't let any of us try to give up. So many people try to give up because they don't think that they are loved. They don't think they're worth anything. So Lord, please give me the right words, the right lesson to give these people to understand that you love them. We love them. In Jesus' name I ask, amen. Okay, y'all saw that sign that said yard sale, correct? So what I'm doing here, I have a lot of dirty money. Let me put it that way. This cash, I've got a quarter of this money, is dirty. So what I'm going to do is, we have yard sales, garage sales. People have garage sales to make money. A lot of times it's for a fundraiser. Sometimes it's to get rid of junk that they don't need anymore. Or they need extra cash. I've had yard sales. And the choices are either give your junk away or sell it. And it's really funny when you think about a yard sale, a garage sale, because people will put a high price, what they think is valued, in the garage sale, okay? A lot of people, they want too much for it. You go to a garage sale, you want pay as least as you can. So what I'm saying is, the people that go to the garage sales, we go to buy something that no one else wants. We go to get a good deal for junk that might be a treasure to them. And we go to get out of the house for a little while. And we go to meet with other people. Just have something to do. We see yard sales, whatever. Well, while I was talking about this, you probably noticed I have been sort of polishing up these coins a little. Well, what's funny about these coins, no matter like this one is pretty dirty. You'd have to look at it pretty good and be, really good to find out that is I think that's a penny. Yeah, that's a penny. It's not a dime, but it's a penny. So, I have to clean it up a little bit. Thinking that maybe if I clean this money up and I go to that garage sale, the people will say, oh, that money's clean. I let her, that's worth more than a nickel. That may be worth a quarter. So, but no, that's not how it works. No matter how much I scrub this nickel, no matter how much I scrub it, that nickel is worth a nickel, okay? And they're not going to give me any more than what it's worth. Well, the other day, our grandchildren were over here, and we were going through this money. And see the difference? You've got a pretty penny. It's still worth 1 cent. You have a dent up penny that's not, but it's still worth 1 cent. If I put these 2 pennies out there for her to choose from, guess which one she would pick? Correct, this one. You know why? Because it's shiny. It is clean. This one is not. No matter how many times I would try to get her to choose this one, she would always pick this one. And that tells you that, that's just like with people. You look at people and you look at yourself, okay? And you say, well, I look like this. I'm not worth anything more. I'm not worth even a penny. This person's all pretty up, pretty, got the clothes on, pretty clothes on, all that. And they feel worth. They feel like they're worth. But to let you know how God looks at us, there is no he doesn't look at the outward appearance. He looks at the inward appearance. Now, like I said, a penny is not that much, but you think about that in this context, that if you had a choice, this one is pretty penny, but it's still worth the same as this one. No matter how much I've cleaned this one, no matter how much I try to get the scratches off of it, it is still the same. So when you start comparing, apples to apples, you're going to always have an apple. Same with these pennies. You compare a penny to a penny, you're going to have a penny. And everything is still worth the same. And that's the way we are, okay? No matter what we look like on the outside, God looks on the inside. People are bad, and I'm not going to use the word bad. People have this habit of not looking at a person's inside. And not only do they do that, if I put these coins back in here, okay, and mix them all up, before you know it, they all look the same. And people start spreading that dirt. They start saying, well, this person's dirty. And before you know it, you feel like you're not worth anything. You're ready to say, I just give completely up. There's nothing I can do. I have scrubbed. I have talked. I have done all I can do to make people think, to know that I am more than what they see on the outside. You can go get your hair dyed. You can go take, have a whatever, stomach staple and whatever. But it does not matter, because it's what in your heart is still going to be there. And if you allow other people to define what you are worth, like I said, in this case, no matter what I did, whether it was a quarter or a nickel, whatever, no matter what I did for the yard sale, if I took this money to the garage sale and I tried to give her that pretty penny and say, hey, this one's worth more because it's pretty short. No, it's still worth 1 cent. I'm not giving you anything more than what it's worth. Well, that's how people feel about themselves a lot. You are worthy. And there's a scripture, remember Jeremiah, where God in Jeremiah 5:11, where it says that he knew us before we were born. It's all scriptural. We are worth more to God, and we are supposed to be happy. And to be happy, you have to feel good about yourself. A lot of people want to give up, okay? It doesn't work that way. Okay. In Jeremiah 1:5, that's where I got it wrong. Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as a prophet to the nations. That's Jeremiah 1:5. I had it backwards. We are all here to be a witness and testimony for the Lord. Pray to feel worthy of God's love. We know our worth, but are we worthy? So we have a few definitions here on this garage sale sign. Worthy, you have in value, honorable, importance to be remembered. I consider him a worthy opponent. Unworthy, not deserving effort, attention, or respect, having little value. He considered himself unworthy of the award that they had given him. Then your worth, the value or usefulness of something or someone. Teammates praise his worth to the team. Okay, just like this money I was just showing, the worth, how much are they worth? How much are you worth to others? You always have a tendency, everybody has this in their mind. I said I'm going to think about the brain. You think about the brain, but let me say this one thing. Everybody has feelings. We've talked about that in the past. And I don't really believe anybody at our church or in our youth class would do anything intentionally to hurt someone in the sense that they felt like they did not fit in, that they were not worthy to be with the group. Cliques. We've talked about that too. We all have worth. You could go out to I guess like a bar or whatever, which you don't. But I mean, places that you would think that you would find people that were non-Christian, okay? And you can look at them, and you know that you can tell that they're not, and they'll admit that they're not. But do you have the right to judge them? You're supposed to witness to them. They're worth as much to God as we are. And that's why we're supposed to be witnesses to them. No matter what they look like, what they're doing, they are of worth. Okay. So, with that being said, I want to talk about Centurion. In the Bible, they had Roman centurions. They were the lead soldiers. So I'll talk about them for a minute because they had a lot of worth in the Roman army. So first of all, a centurion, if you look at him, you can tell he was rough. He trained. He had many years behind him. He was either appointed by a senator or the people in charge of the army. But and a lot of times, most of the time though, they had to come up in the ranks like you do now in our army. But a centurion soldier like this, he had 100. He would have 100 men under his control. Okay. Now I don't know about your teachers, at the schools, but I know how hard it is to have 25 or 30 in a class to one teacher, and pretty well disciplined. And same way with them. He was in charge of 100 men, but you always going to have at least one or two in any group that's going to give you problems. But anyway, in this case, he was the discipline. Like I said, he was promoted by the years, 15, 20 years, and they were paid according to their tenure. How long they was in the army. They were responsible for training and assignments, and like I said, discipline. They escorted prisoners. They got food and supplies when the army was moving from place to place. They gave harsh discipline to their soldiers. Now, I don't see his cane, but they had canes as a symbol of rank. The bribed centurions would give subordinates, like I said, there was corruption and everything, would give subordinates easier duties. They wore military decoration they'd received as necklaces and bracelets, I guess, like the ribbons and the necklaces for who they were, what their rank was, if they did anything above what they were supposed to. They earned pay anywhere from 5 to 15 times more than of an ordinary soldier. They led the way into war, and they wore the same uniform, except they wore a distinctive helmet so subordinates could see them in the heat of the fight. So, when you're in the heat of the fight, you're looking for your commander, and you could see his hat or his helmet. They stood on the front line leading their men, and they were expected to be courageous. Now, you're going to ask me, now, what has this got to do with worth? And what's this got to do with worthy? Well, there was, like I said, there's some centurion soldiers in the New Testament. And there's one in particular that I was wanting to talk about tonight. Because, when you think about this leader, this soldier, this centurion, you see gruffness in his face. You see strong arms. He has his sword in his hand. I mean, he has all of his gear, his armor, his breastplate, everything, his helmet, everything. He is ready to go to war. Well, you do not see any kind of affection in his face. You do not see any kind of being humble in his face. For the empire, he has to be strong. He cannot show any kind of, he has to be, really strong and display it for the men. So tonight I was looking through and I found a story about the centurion who had a paralyzed servant. Okay? A lot of this was faith, relating to faith also. But if you keep in mind what he says to Jesus, you know why I picked this centurion. Let's see. It was Matthew 5, 8, 5 through 13. Now when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him pleading with him, saying, Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, dreadfully tormented. And Jesus said to him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For I also am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, Go, and he goes, and to another, Come, and he comes. And to my servant, Do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled, and said to those who followed, Assuredly, I say to you, I have not found such a great faith, not even in Israel. And I say to you that many will come from east and west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, Go your way, and as you have believed, so let it be done for you. And his servant was healed that same hour. Okay, I'm going to talk about this for a minute. Now, like I said, the centurion was rough. I mean, can you imagine how he felt to have to go to Jesus and ask Jesus to heal his servant? Now, I don't, he wasn't alone, and he wasn't. He was felt so unworthy because of his rank and what he does all the time, that he did not feel like he was worthy to have Jesus in his own house. So all he did was say, if you will heal my servant, if you will heal him, I know you can heal him. And Jesus felt like, he knew that was a lot of faith for this centurion to come to him and ask him to heal his servant like that. Because he knew that, with him being a centurion soldier, with the rank that he had and all that he had been through and all the people that he has under him, at least 100 soldiers underneath him, Jesus knew he was worthy. He made him worthy. And the centurion was brave enough, or I don't know what the word would be, to put his pride, took his pride to where he would actually ask Jesus to heal his servant without coming to his house. And then there was another centurion Bible example, and this one was really the one that impressed me the most, was because he didn't feel like Jesus come to his house. Mark 15:39. So when the centurion who stood opposite him saw that he cried out like this and breathed his last, he said, Truly this man was the Son of God. But this was the centurion that watched Jesus die. Now, it had nothing to do with what the centurions, were or worthy. But what caught my eye about this centurion was the fact that he watched Jesus die. And when he saw what happened when Jesus died, he, in his heart, felt or knew that this was the Son of God, that Jesus died was Jesus the Son. And that later, that same centurion verified to Pilate that Jesus was, in fact, dead, that same centurion. Another centurion is mentioned in Acts 10. A righteous centurion named Cornelius and his entire family were baptized by Peter and were some of the first Gentiles. The final mention of centurion occurs in Acts 27, where the Apostle Paul and some other prisoners are put under charge of a named Julius. And we'll get that one in a minute, because he's on the ship. Paul was put on the ship with some. He was in prison. They imprisoned him, and he was on the ship. I used the centurions as an example of people who considered themselves as unworthy to be saved. There is no one unworthy, not worthy enough to be saved. All anyone has to do is ask for the Lord to come in their heart. Ask them forgiveness from the Lord. From the Lord. So back to this one. This is what the centurion said to Jesus. Whenever, listen, like I said, whenever Jesus was going to go to his house, and he didn't want him to. Lord, I do not deserve. That's how he felt. I am not worthy for you to come in my house. I do not deserve you to come under my roof. But just say the word. He didn't say a bunch of words. He said, just say the word, and my servant will be healed. Now, a lot of people, when they pray, you say, pray for me, you sort of expect a lot of words, when you say, 2 words, Lord, heal, a lot of people they'd be offended to that. But according to what this scripture says, he said, just say the word. The means one word. Just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority. I have people over me. I am a man under authority. There are people over me with soldiers that are under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes. And I tell that one to come, and he comes. I tell my servant to do this, and he does it. I'm not worthy of you to come to my house with the way my life is. I have duties. I have things that I've done that makes me unworthy. In his thinking, from what this is saying, is I am unworthy for you to come to my house because of my lifestyle. He told Jesus he was unworthy to have him to come to his house because of his life of being a centurion soldier. Jesus was touched by his faith and healed his servant miles away from the home. And the Bible says that he was healed immediately. Okay, in Acts 27, this is one I was just talking about. I'm not going to go through the whole story. This is where Paul is a prisoner on a ship with a bunch of other prisoners. And they are in a terrible storm. This is an example of what the storm looked like, okay? And the men are so afraid, the soldiers are so afraid now that they're going to, this is so bad. They were ready to jump ship. They were trying to they were from one place to the other, and they get caught in this horrible storm. And the ship was cracking up. And they were ready to man the lifeboats and jump ship. In other words, give up. But Paul kept saying, he said, do not jump ship. Do not leave. Paul had faith. And Paul said, if you leave this ship, you will die. He said, but the ship is going to be destroyed, but you will live. Okay? Well, it got so bad that the ship was destroyed. Like I said, they wanted to jump ship. They had lifeboats out. They were getting ready to leave and all that. And he told, like I said, you need to read this chapter. But he says, if you leave, you will die. Do not jump ship. He said, stay in the boat. But he said, but I warn you, the ship is going to be destroyed in this storm. But we will be safe if you stay in the ship. In other words, like I was saying a while ago, don't give up. This was an example of don't give up on yourself. He was saying, don't jump ship. The ship was destroyed. And when they didn't die. The ship was completely destroyed, but they did not die. They made it. But this is what was really interesting about this story. About like I said, there was a centurion on this ship too. And when the ship was destroyed, the soldiers they planned to kill all of the prisoners, including Paul, because if any of them escaped, it was going to be their heads. They would be in trouble. But the centurion talked them out of it. He wouldn't let them do it. He saved Paul. God used that centurion in this particular story about Paul because, like I said, they were scared. Paul was the only one on that ship that had the faith to stay on there, and he was telling them to stay on the ship too. Well, that's just like with our lives, okay? If you compare that with what he was telling them, you do not jump ship. No matter how bad it gets, or how bad, or how you think your life is going. You know, you say, I'm not worthy. You know, God must have something against me because I have all this stuff going on and I see no end in sight. Well, that's like the ship, okay? They wanted to jump it. They wanted to leave. And you know, there's no way they could have survived a storm that bad. And he warned them, like I said, he's warned them that the ship, and when your ship is going down in real life, in your heart, in real life, first thing you want to say, two things you want to say. First of all, you want to blame God. Well, in Paul's case, he wasn't blaming God. He had faith in God. God had told him he was going to, knew God had told him he was going to take care of him. So when the ship was going down, when it was breaking apart, can you imagine your heart, your whole life is crumbling around you? Your family is separated. You've got unruly, you got parents who you think don't love you. You've got children who are disrespectful. You have no control over what's going on in your life. And you start saying, why? Am I not worthy of what my friends have? Or am I not worthy? Am I not good enough? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not sweet enough? Why am I not got what my friends have? They look like they're really blessed. And surely I have as much love and care, if not more than they have. Why? Okay? And that's when you start having this feeling of unworthiness. Like, undoubtedly, I don't have anything to give. So that's when people start saying, I'm just going to leave this world so no one will care because nobody cares. My mom and daddy don't care. And that's the enemy talking to you. But like I said, look at this with Paul. And I know you're saying, what's this got to do being worthy and worth? It's, like I said, I wasn't going to talk about your mind. It's your mindset. You have to believe that God is in control. That's what Paul did. No matter how bad the storm was, no matter, not even though this big ship was coming apart, everybody else wanted to jump ship, he had faith. He knew his worth. The centurion knew his worth. Because if he hadn't have, he would have gone ahead and let the soldiers kill all the prisoners instead of trying to keep them rounded up. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. You're probably asking yourself, why am I talking about Roman centurions for this lesson? Think about how mean these officers were to the prisoners and even their own soldiers. Jesus wasn't worried about who the centurion was in the Bible. He was amazed at his faith. This centurion actually humbled himself to the Lord. Now, when or if you ever think you or someone else is not worth living, now keep this in mind. Remember that you have a path from God, and the enemy is doing all he can to crack up your ship, destroy your ship, and in this case, your path. He'll put anything and everything he can in your path, even to the point of making you think that you are unworthy to live. You are unworthy to be loved. You are unworthy to have friends. That is the enemy. And it's going to make me cry because I see it so many times, and it is a lie. Okay? The devil is the king of lies. He is the father of lies. He is a liar. He is a deceiver. And the more that he can put in your mind to make you feel bad about yourself, the happier it makes him because he knows he's got a little crack. He has a crack when he starts making you think Like I said before, he can't read your mind, but he can put thoughts in it. And your goal is to keep the brick wall out up against those thoughts, because everybody has worth. Doesn't matter what they're doing in their life. That part is between them and God. They are to be saved. We are supposed to be witnesses. How can you be a witness for the Lord if you feel like you're unworthy? You have to feel worth. There is nobody exists that has no worth. Worth is from Him. Being worthy of His love, protection, blessings, and favors didn't come cheap. Jesus gave His life for yours. You are worthy because Jesus makes you worthy with His love. Now this, I'm going to give credit. This came from K Love. I'm going to give credit to K Love, because when I came across that image, it hit my listen to the T. And I asked Robert to use that as my conclusion backdrop. I said a lot about Centurions. The Centurion soldiers are very experienced and brutal soldiers. And the one with the paralyzed servant admitted his life as the Roman centurion leader to Jesus when he asked for his servant's healing. He was telling Jesus that he was not worthy to have Jesus in his home because of his life. And Jesus was impressed by his faith, even though his feelings were of unworthiness. I hear a lot of people give excuses as why they don't think someone will succeed. They use their past. And this is another thing. I'm going to close with this, okay? Because I hear this so much, and it brings me down. When you have, we have talked about this in the past, of a fly. We have talked about this in the past. History is history. When you use the excuse to put somebody down because of their history, you are wrong. And I'll tell you why. Yesterday is gone. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Yesterday is gone. Today is today. You live today, and tomorrow has its own problems. You are not the judge. Okay? I have heard people say, well, I know their history. This is their history. Everybody has history. If they say that, they need to think about their history. Were they perfect when they were young? Were they perfect when they were the same age, or when they're doing things? Were they a perfect person? Are they a perfect person? That's why people get self-conscious about their life. They start feeling they're not worthy of love, especially when it's family members. They have to show that they care. Even if it just about kills them. Give them a smile and say, you're doing good, you're going to be fine. You do not speak death over life. You're supposed to give life. You're supposed to live light, not darkness over them, especially when it's family. Anyway, you are worthy. You are worthy because Jesus makes you worthy with His love. Let's spread our love. Let's be like Jesus. Let's make other people feel their worth. I hope y'all enjoyed the lesson. Love you all. Have a good night.